Thank you for joining. This video will provide a detailed explanation of the proposal submission process. It all starts with refining your research. Ideally, faculty will meet with the RGS long before they consider applying for an RFP. Ideally, faculty will meet with the RGS to create a research plan. This plan prioritizes the research the faculty would like to pursue during their tenure. Refining your research helps to alleviate a lot of the stress that goes along with responding to an RFP. This is done by creating a one-page concept paper. Once the research has been refined, the PI can spend needed time responding to the sponsor's eligibility criteria instead of having to figure out what the research is and making a solid case for support. Also, the PI and RGS can use the concept paper to secure collaborating partners, obtain approval from the dean, the president, and elected officials in the early stages. Once determined, faculty will work closely with the RGS to develop a concept paper that aligns with the college's mission, crystallizes the research project's program design, develop measurable goals and actionable objectives, and provide a general idea of what the project will cost to administer. The PI will identify how many co-PIs, key personnel, student assistants, vendors, consultants, and subawards are required to implement the project. Once the general concept has been fleshed out, the RGS will discuss the project with the dean during their regularly scheduled meetings and receive approval or requests for modifications in order for the research to move forward. Once approved, the RGS researches and identifies funding sources to cover the cost of implementing research projects. The faculty then reviews the recommendation and selects the best match. A timeline based on submission date is created. If any of the funding sources include private foundations, the RGS submits a request to University Advancement for clearance to submit. This process has been established to avoid multiple submissions to funding agencies that may only accept one proposal per institution, and avoid any conflicts with pitches already in the works with the president or Advancement. Once clearance has been obtained, the RGS notifies OGC by sending them the call, the clearance if it's a foundation, the narrative, the concept paper, and the preliminary budget. A meeting is scheduled with the PI, RGS, and OGC to develop a program budget. At this time, OGC will develop a timeline checklist that provides the PI with a detailed checklist of documents that are needed to be submitted and the correlating submission dates. At this time, the PI obtains chair approval. All grant submissions require chair approval prior to submission, as the chair will be responsible for hiring staff to cover courses and cover any other commitments promised in the grant. While the PI continues to refine the narrative, the RGS is available to secure ancillary documents, such as letters of support from collaborating partners. OGC will secure subaward documents from collaborating partners. Once the narrative and budget are finalized and all the supplemental documents have been secured, it's time for the PI to start routing. This is where the university-wide approvals are obtained. It takes a minimum of 7 days to secure signatures from all of the departments required to sign off across the campus. Therefore, the campus policy stipulates that the PI must initiate Cayuse, the routing system, at least 7 days prior to submission. Ideally, you want to submit earlier to avoid unforeseen circumstances such as multiple submissions on the same day. Once routing has been completed and all signatures obtained, the proposal is authorized for submission. In most cases, OGC will submit the proposal on the behalf of the PI. However, some private foundations require PIs to create and upload proposals in their portal. In some instances, the PI will submit the proposal themselves, In other instances, the PI will create a profile and provide OGC with the login credentials, and they will submit on the PI's behalf. The OGC officer will notify the PI of the submission process. The goal is to submit the proposal 2 to 5 days before the submission deadline to avoid all of the unforeseen circumstances that may lead to an unsuccessful submission, like the site crashing or the discovery of missed document. So that's it for the proposal submission process. Let's quickly recap what PIs should remember about the submission process. 1. PI should meet with the RGS as soon as possible to develop and refine your research by developing a one-page concept paper. The RGS will research and identify funding resources. If the sponsor is a foundation, the RGS will secure UA clearance. The PI will work with the OGC officer to develop an accurate budget. While the PI refines the narrative, the RGS assists with securing letters of support, signatures, etc. OGC initiates Cayuse routing 7 to 10 business days prior to the deadline. And finally, OGC submits the application. Be sure to watch additional videos that explain research in the College of Education and resources provided to support faculty in engaging in meaningful research. Also, visit the resource page on the College of Education site for forms, templates, and a list of policies faculty should be aware of prior to applying for extramural funding. Lastly, visit the university's Research Gateway for more information on research, policies and procedures, events, and support resources. Thank you for watching this video.